Black chef aids lost girl. What she reveals stuns him. The girl stood barefoot in the alley, hugging a torn photograph to her chest, like it was the only thing keeping her alive. Steam curled from a vent beside the brick wall, wrapping around her thin frame like smoke. Her dress was stained, her knees were bruised, her eyes wide brown and too hollow for a child locked on him as he stepped outside the kitchen door with a trash bag slung over his shoulder. Malik stopped cold. She didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. He took a cautious step forward. "Hey, you okay?" She didn't answer. Only when he stepped closer did she lift the photo. Her hand trembled as she extended it to him like a silent offering. It was creased and torn, smudged with what might have been dirt or dried blood. I think I lost my mama," she whispered, barely loud enough to hear, but Malik let go of the trash bag. It hit the pavement with a soft thud. He knelt slowly, lowering himself to her eye level. "What's your name, sweetheart?" She hesitated, clutching the photo tighter. Her lips moved without sound at first. Then finally, "Esperanza." "Hope." Malik's heart clenched. "Okay, Esperanza. I'm Malik. You're safe now, all right?" She flinched at that word. Safe. As if she'd heard it too many times and learned it was a lie. Her eyes dropped to the photograph again. With shaky fingers, she turned it around. The image was of a mantle, dark-haired, sharply dressed. His face had been viciously scratched out with something sharp, like a knife or a key. On the back, written in crooked handwriting, were just 4 words. "He knows. Run. Hide." Malik didn't think twice. He opened the kitchen door and ushered her inside. Ignoring the curious looks from the line cooks, he brought her to the pantry and wrapped her in a dry kitchen towel. Then he gave her a glass of water and a piece of warm cornbread from the prep station. She ate like she hadn't had food in days, maybe longer. "Where's your mom now?" he asked softly. Esperanza looked up, cornbread crumbs on her lips. Her hands tightened on the towel. "He took her." "Who?" She didn't answer. Malik crouched in front of her. "The man in the photo." She nodded once. "Do you know his name?" She looked down, her lips pressed into a thin line. "Esteban." Malik swallowed hard. That name sounded heavy, like it belonged to someone you didn't cross. "Is he your dad?" Her head shot up, eyes wide. "No, he buys kids." Malik felt his stomach turn. "Buys? What do you mean?" "He takes them. From boats, from houses, sometimes from the street. Mama told me never to talk about him, but she told me to run if anything ever happened." She tried to stop him. "What happened to her?" Malik asked gently. Esperanza's voice broke. "He hit her." She screamed. "I ran." Malik couldn't call the police. Not yet. He'd grown up in neighborhoods where sometimes the wrong cop handed the right kid to the wrong man. And Esperanza was too fragile, too specific in her fear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. Someone was truly hunting her. He made up a quick lie to the manager, said his stomach was acting up and clocked out early. Then he took her upstairs to the tiny studio apartment above the restaurant that he rented from the owner. There he made her a cup of tea and gave her his warmest hoodie. She fell asleep in seconds on his worn couch, curled into herself like a kitten trying to disappear. At 2:18 a.m., she began screaming. Malik leapt out of bed and rushed to her. She was drenched in sweat, her tiny body twisting under the blanket, murmuring words in Spanish he didn't fully understand. "And mama. No, barco. No, por favor." He gently shook her awake. Her eyes flew open, wild with fear. She clung to him like she thought she was drowning. When her breathing slowed, she whispered, "Don't let him take me back to the boat." "What boat?" Malik asked, voice calm. She looked around, as if checking for shadows, then shook her head violently. "I wasn't supposed to talk." And just like that, she went quiet again. Her body trembled against his arm. The next morning, Malik went to the alley behind the restaurant to clear his head. The cold air helped him think. That's when he saw it. A photo taped to the back door of the restaurant. It was him, holding Esperanza's hand. The photo was taken that morning. Someone had been watching them. Chills ran down his spine. He tore the picture down and checked both directions of the alley. No one, but he felt eyes, like someone was still there. Then he noticed something strange in the dumpster. A phone, a cheap, black burner phone, tucked between 2 crates that started ringing. He picked it up. The voice on the other end was deep, calm, cold. "Return the girl by midnight, or we burn your kitchen down with you inside." Click. The line went dead. the girl's secret name, and the man in the shadow. Smolik stared at the dead phone in his hand, the chill of the morning air suddenly swallowed by a wave of fear he hadn't felt since he was a teenager running from gangs in New Orleans. They knew who he was. They knew where he worked. And worse, they had taken a photo of him with Esperanza. His first instinct was to go back upstairs and pack his things, grab Esperanza and run. But where? How far could he get with a child who barely spoke, who flinched at every loud sound, who screamed about the boat in her sleep? He needed answers. He needed to understand why she was being hunted. Back in his studio apartment, above the restaurant, Esperanza was sitting quietly on the couch, Molik's oversized hoodie drowning her small frame. She was clutching the torn photo like a lifeline. She looked up when he entered. "Someone called me," Malik said carefully, trying not to scare her. "They want you back." Her eyes didn't blink. "He always finds me." "Who is he to you, Esperanza?" She stared at the wall, her lips trembling. "Is Esteban your father?" She shook her head. "No, he's worse. He used to work for bad people on the docks. Then he became the boss. He takes kids on boats. Some go to America, some don't." "Where are you from?" Malik asked. "Panama," she whispered. Malik sat down, trying to remain calm. "And your mum, where is she now?" "She ran too. She gave me the photo and told me to hide. We were supposed to meet at the Red Church in the city, but Esteban found us before we got there." She screamed. "I ran. And that photo," Esperanza unfolded it again. "This is him, Esteban. Mama said if I ever saw him again, to run and never look back." Malik clenched his fists. He had no idea what he'd gotten himself into, but this girl, this trembling, broken soul, had trusted him. He wouldn't fail her. He spent the next hour searching through his contacts. Cops were out of the question. But he remembered someone, Nico, an old friend who used to do security work for people who didn't ask questions. Malik hadn't talked to him in years, but this was no time for pride. He dialed the number. Nico answered after the fourth ring. "Malik, haven't heard your voice since Katrina." "Yeah, I need help. I think a little girl's being hunted by traffickers, and I've got less than 12 hours before something bad happens." There was silence. On the line then, "Where are you?" By 3 p.m., Nico arrived, bearded, with a worn leather jacket and eyes that had clearly seen things Malik didn't want to imagine. He listened quietly as Malik explained everything. "She's not making this stuff up," Malik said. "She wakes up screaming about boats and cages. And this morning, someone left a burner phone outside my back door. They threatened to torch the kitchen." Nico rubbed his chin. "Traffickers use ports, especially near the edge of downtown. I've heard whispers of a man called Esteban, ruthless, never leaves a paper trail. She said her mum told her to go to a red church. That might be San Tomas." Nico pulled out his phone. "It's an old mission on the edge of the city. Spanish service every Friday night." "That's tonight," Malik muttered. "What if her mom's waiting there?" Nico nodded. "Then that's our best shot. But we don't go unprepared." They packed quickly. Nico brought his licensed firearm. Malik packed food, water, and a spare hoodie for Esperanza. At 6:15 p.m., they pulled up outside the mission-style church, its red roof glowing in the setting sun. They kept a low profile, staying across the street in Nico's beat-up SUV. Eyes scanned every shadow. She was silent the entire ride, but her hands wouldn't stop shaking. "You recognize anything?" Malik asked. She hesitated, then pointed. "That bench. Mama said to wait there if I got here first." Malik nodded and stepped out, holding her hand. "We'll wait together." At 7:02 p.m., a woman in a torn brown coat appeared from around the corner. Her hair was tangled. She walked with a limp, but her eyes. "Esperanza," the woman cried, dropping her purse and rushing forward. Esperanza broke into a run, sobbing, "Mama." They collapsed into each other, crying and shaking. Malik stepped back, heart pounding with relief, but just as he turned to signal Nico, he caught movement out of the corner of his eye. A black SUV had pulled up on the far side of the block. The window rolled down. A man with slicked back hair and sunglasses stared directly at Malik. The girl's photo was in his hand. Before Malik could react, the SUV screeched forward. Nico yelled, "Get them inside the church." Now, Malik grabbed both Esperanza and her mother and rushed up the stairs. The church doors opened, and a kind-faced priest stepped aside without question. The moment the doors slammed shut behind them, Gunshots rang out. 2.3. Glass shattered above the church steps. People screamed. Inside. Esperanza clung to her mother, both of them shaking. Malik's heart pounded as he ducked behind a pew. Eyes on the door. We need to get them to a safe place, Nico said, storming in behind them. Esteban doesn't care about rules. He's trying to silence them. This was never about the girl. Malik looked at him, confused. Then what is this about? Nico glanced down at Esperanza's mother, now pale and gasping for breath. She looked up with teary eyes. He's not after her, she whispered. He's after what she remembers. She remembers something that could destroy him. Malik sat, frozen in the church pew, the echo of gunshots still ringing in his ears. Esperanza was sobbing into her mother's shoulder, while the priest hurried to close the blinds and lock the doors. Nico stood by the entrance, gun drawn, watching the street through a crack in the stained glass. Is everyone okay? The priest asked shakily. No one's hurt, Malik said. But they'll be back. He turned to Esperanza's mother, kneeling beside her. You said Esteban isn't after the girl, he's after what she remembers. What did you mean? The woman looked up, face pale, lips trembling. My daughter, she saw something. What? Her eyes darted to the church doors, then back to Malik. Something he thought she was too young to understand. They moved into the church basement, where the priest let them stay hidden. It was dim, dusty, but secure. Nico blocked the small windows with folding chairs and crates. Malik sat with Esperanza and her mum on a bench, while the truth began to unravel. My name is Elena, the mother said. We came to this country 2 months ago. Esteban said he would help us. He knew. Smugglers. Said he could get me and Esperanza out of Panama safely. I thought I had no choice. Malik listened, eyebrows knit. He told me we'd stay in a shelter for a few days until we found real work. But the place he took us to, it wasn't a shelter. It was a warehouse near the docks. She took a shaky breath. That's where I first saw the cages. Malik's jaw clenched. There were children, Elena whispered, some as young as 3. He kept them locked up. Boys, girls, some barely able to speak. He said they were being sent to better homes overseas. But there was fear in every one of those kids' eyes. Fear I'll never forget. Esperanza held her mother's hand tightly. I pretended not to see. I had to protect her, Elena said, stroking her daughter's hair. But one night, Esteban made a mistake. He forgot the child was still in the room. Elena, Malik asked gently, what did Esperanza see? She looked away. A man, bound, bleeding. Esteban beat him. He kept yelling about missing money and exposure. Then Esteban took out a knife, and her voice cracked. He made sure the man would never speak again. Malik's stomach turned. She saw all of it. She was hiding behind some crates. She thought I didn't know. But that night, she couldn't sleep. She kept whispering about blood and screaming. Nico stepped forward. That's enough to get Esteban buried if she talks.
Exactly.
Elena said. Esteban found out. He realized she was there. That's when everything changed. He beat me. Said I should have told him then. He said he was going to take Esperanza away. Malik glanced at the little girl. She sat silently now, holding the torn photo again. There was something in her eyes, something beyond fear. She has a perfect memory, Elena whispered. Photographic. She can remember every word, every face, every sound. She can describe the murder in terrifying detail. She even remembers the man's tattoo. Nico's eyes widened. Wait, was the tattoo a red dragon, curled around a dagger? Elena nodded, slowly. Then the man who was killed, Nico said darkly, was Miguel Cartagena. Who's that? Malik asked. An informant who was about to testify against a trafficking ring. Then he disappeared. The feds never found the body. If Esperanza saw him die, she holds the key to one of the biggest unsolved cases in the state. Malik ran a hand over his face. No wonder Esteban wants her gone. Just then, a loud bang echoed from above. Wood cracked. A door slammed. They all froze. Nico pointed to the stairwell. Someone's in the church. The priest rushed down. I tried to stop them. They said they were police, but they had no badges. Nico cursed. Esteban sent his own men. Elena grabbed her daughter, holding her close. Please don't let them take her. We won't, Malik promised. Not ever. Nico turned to the priest. Is there another way out? The priest nodded. The old catacombs. They're sealed now, but I still have the key. Show me, Nico said. They hurried to the rear of the basement, where a rusty metal door sat behind a broken bookcase. The priest unlocked it with trembling hands. Beyond it was a tunnel, narrow and dark, smelling of earth and age. "This goes all the way to the old convent 2 blocks east," the priest said, "but be careful. It's not been used in decades." Malik lifted Esperanza into his arms. Alina followed closely behind. They slipped into the tunnel, just as voices echoed from the basement stairs. "We know you're down here," a man shouted. Nico slammed the door shut and shot the lock. "That'll slow them." They ran. The tunnel stretched on forever, the only light coming from Nico's flashlight. Rats scurried along the edges. Water dripped from the ceiling. Esperanza buried her face in Malik's shoulder. "It's okay," he whispered to her. "You're the bravest little girl I've ever met." She said nothing, but her tiny hand clutched his shirt. They reached the end of the tunnel and climbed into the ruins of the old convent. It was empty, overgrown, forgotten. Nico peeked out a cracked window. "We're clear, for now." Malik sat Esperanza down and turned to Alina. "We need to go to the authorities. Not just any cop. Someone federal. Someone we can trust." Nico nodded. "I know a U.S. Marshal. If Esperanza testifies, this could bring down Esteban's whole network." Malik turned to the girl. "Esperanza, would you be willing to tell them what you saw?" She looked at him, really looked, then slowly nodded. "I remember everything," she said softly. Then she pulled something from her pocket, a small plastic locket. Inside it was a photo of the man Esteban had killed. "He had a family," she said. "Someone should know what happened." The truth reaches the wrong ears. The ruins of the old convent offered shelter, but not peace. Malik paced back and forth on the broken marble floor, glancing toward the stained glass window every few minutes. Outside, the night had thickened like smoke, and every distant car engine made his shoulders tighten. Esperanza sat curled against her mother, who stroked her hair in slow, trembling movements. The girl hadn't spoken since they left the church tunnel, but her eyes stayed wide, alert, like she knew silence was the only shield left. Nico returned from scouting the perimeter. "We've got maybe 20 minutes before they start sweeping this block. We need to move," Malik said. "You said you know a U.S. Marshal." "Yeah," Nico replied. "Name's Ward. He's not perfect, but he hates traffickers. We meet at his safe house 2 miles from here. But we have to be careful. Esteban's got eyes all over this city." Malik nodded. "We take the back streets." "No," Nico said. "We split up." Malik raised an eyebrow. "You and the girl take the long route. I'll take Alina and draw their attention. If they're tracking anyone, it's the mom. She's the one Esteban lost control of." Elena stood. "I can handle it." Malik turned to her. "You sure?" She nodded. "My daughter is the one they're after now. You keep her alive." By midnight, they slipped out through the convent's old gate. Malik and Esperanza took an alley running behind an abandoned school, avoiding the main roads. The streetlights were dim, flickering, casting long shadows. Every shadow looked like a threat. Malik kept a hand on the small backpack Nico gave him. Inside was a burner phone, $300 in cash, and a flash drive labeled testimony. He hadn't opened it yet. As they walked, Esperanza finally spoke. "Is he going to catch us?" "No," Malik said softly. "Not if I have anything to do with it." She stopped walking. "He caught everyone else." Malik crouched in front of her. "Look at me." She hesitated, then lifted her eyes. "You are not alone anymore. Do you hear me?" She stared at him. "Why are you helping me?" The question struck Malik harder than he expected. He thought of all the times no one had helped him, sleeping on sidewalks at 15, holding his dying brother's hand after a bad deal went wrong, cooking just to stay off the streets. "Because someone should have helped me when I was your age," he said quietly. "Because if no one ever helps the lost ones, we all stay lost." She looked at him for a long second. Then she took his hand and squeezed it. They were 3 blocks from the safe house when they heard the car, a black SUV just like the one from the church. Malik grabbed Esperanza and ducked behind a dumpster in the alley. The SUV slowed, headlights off, engine humming like a predator stalking prey. Esperanza clung to his side. Breathing fast, the SUV stopped. A man stepped out. Malik recognized him immediately. Not Esteban, but the same man who'd fired shots at the church. "Search the alley." The man barked into a radio. Malik's heart pounded. He looked up at the fire escape above them. "We're climbing," he whispered. With one arm he boosted Esperanza onto the ladder. She climbed faster than he expected. He followed, wincing as the metal creaked under his weight. Just as his foot left the ground, a flashlight beam swept beneath them. "Over there," a voice shouted. Gunshots exploded behind them. Malik pulled himself over the roof edge and yanked the ladder up. They ran. They didn't stop until they reached a rundown apartment building with a cracked green door. Nico's directions had been clear. "Safe house is 207. Don't trust the neighbors. Knock twice. Pause. Then once more." Malik did exactly that. A tall, broad man with a U.S. Marshal badge opened the door. He looked older than Malik expected. Grizzled, eyes sharp. "You Malik?" "Yes." The man stepped aside. "Get in." The apartment was sparse maps on the walls, police scanners, a metal table with folders and photographs. Ward locked the door behind them. "You got the girl?" he asked, kneeling in front of Esperanza. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Esperanza." He smiled. "Pretty name." Malik handed him the flash drive. "This has her account. A full statement recorded by her mother. Names, dates, descriptions." Ward plugged it into his laptop and began scanning the files. His smile faded as he clicked through. "Jesus," he muttered. This could bury half the docs. If she testifies, we can pull in feds from 3 states. Will she be safe?" Malik asked. "I'll place her in protective custody tomorrow," Ward said. "Tonight, you both stay here. I'll watch the door." Malik nodded and sat on the floor beside Esperanza, exhausted. She curled up next to him and, for the first time in days, fell asleep without trembling. At 3:12 a.m., Malik woke to voices. To men whispering in the kitchen. He got up, barefoot, and tiptoed toward the sound. "No," Esteban said, "she's the one." The kids saw too much. It was Ward's voice. On the phone, Malik's blood ran cold. He stepped back into the dark hallway and grabbed Esperanza. "We have to go," he whispered. She blinked, confused. "Why?" "Because we're not safe here." Malik opened the bathroom window and helped her climb through. They dropped down into the alley below just as a door creaked. "Open upstairs." Ward's single quotes Al's voice called out. "Malik, you still up?" Malik didn't answer. He and Esperanza ran. By sunrise, they reached the edge of the train yard. Malik called Nico's backup. "Contact another smuggler, but a clean one this time." A woman named Rosa, who owed Nico a favor. She picked up on the second ring. "You got the girl?" "Yes." But Ward was dirty. He was going to hand her over. There was silence on the line. Then Rosa said, "Get to the old depot. I'll meet you there. I know a way out of this city." Malik looked at Esperanza, who was watching the sky change color with quiet wonder. He reached for her hand again. "Almost there," he said, but he knew the next few hours could break them both. Buried a trap, and the last name she speaks. The train yard looked like something out of a forgotten dream. Rusted tracks, broken signals, and long abandoned boxes that slept in rows like metal skeletons. The sun was just peeking over the horizon, lighting the steel with a golden haze. But Malik didn't admire the view. He scanned the area like a man who had already learned the hard way that trust could cost lives. Esperanza gripped his hand tightly. She hadn't said a word since they ran from Ward's apartment. Her silence wasn't just fear anymore. It was something heavier, a quiet realization that no place was safe. They moved cautiously between the rows of train cars until Malik spotted a faded red caboose near the far wall. That was the marker Nico had told him to look for. "She'll meet us there," Malik said softly. "Who?" Esperanza finally whispered. "Someone who can get us out of here." 10 minutes passed. No one came. Malik began to worry. He crouched by the boxcart and pulled Esperanza close, hiding them in the shadows. His eyes stayed on the distant yard gate. If Rosa had been caught, or worse, if she'd betrayed them. A low whistle echoed across the tracks. Malik froze. Then from the trees near the yard's edge, a woman emerged, thick braid, camo jacket, heavy boots. She carried a backpack and scanned the area like a soldier. "Rosa," Malik breathed. She approached quickly, eyes sharp. "You Malik?" He nodded. "And this is the girl?" "Yes." Rosa knelt in front of Esperanza. "You holding up okay, Princessa?" Esperanza nodded slowly. Rosa stood. "There's a freight train leaving in 1 hour, headed south. No questions asked. The conductor owes me. You'll ride that train. You'll be out of Esteban's reach, but only if no one follows." Malik's shoulders dropped a little. "Thank you." Rosa's face darkened. "You don't need to thank me yet. There's one problem. What? Ward's been calling every street name in the city. He's offering $10,000 to anyone who delivers the girl. Half the gangs are looking for you. The other half are praying you show up near their block. Malik clenched his jaw. Let them come. I'll protect her. No, Rosa said. We do this smart. The train has a hidden compartment in the third car, but you'll have to cross the loading platform wide open. You get spotted, it's over. Malik looked at ESPERANZA, that he didn't have a choice. As they waited near the caboose, Rosa passed Malik an old revolver. 6 shots. No reload. I hope I don't need even one, Malik said grimly. He gave Esperanza a final piece of cornbread and wrapped her in his jacket. Then, just as they were preparing to move, Esperanza spoke again. I know another name. Malik looked at her. What do you mean? She reached into her pocket and pulled out a second torn paper. This was in Mama's coat. I didn't show you before. Malik unfolded it. It was a shipping manifest. One of the names at the bottom chilled him. Councilman Diego Marin. Nico had mentioned the name once. A clinket, rising politician who promised to clean the streets. But this paper showed his name tied to Cargo 41. And Cargo 41 was the code Esperanza's mom had whispered before they escaped the church. This is huge, Malik said. If the girl testifies and this document gets out, it could take down a city councilman. No wonder they're hunting her like an animal, Rosa muttered. We have to get her out. Today, at 7:43 a.m., they made their move. Rosa went first, drawing attention near the front of the yard. She knocked over barrels, started shouting, pretending to be drunk. A few guards came to check it out. Malik and Esperanza sprinted across the loading platform. Every step felt like a mile. Behind them, shouts rang out. Hey, stop! Gunfire cracked through the air. Malik shoved Esperanza into the third train car, ducking behind crates. Bullets ricocheted off the walls behind them. Rosa returned fire from the far end of the yard, covering them. A heavy man in a black coat chased up the stairs and lunged toward the train. Malik raised the revolver. One shot. The man dropped. Malik didn't even breathe, just yanked the door shut and locked it from the inside. Then he pulled Esperanza into the hidden crawl space Rosa had described. Stay quiet, he whispered. The train began to move. Screams echoed from outside. Gunshots faded then. Silence. 30 minutes into the ride, Malik finally exhaled. He looked down at the girl resting beside him. You're safe now, he whispered. But Esperanza opened her eyes and shook her head. Not yet, she said softly. They'll keep coming. What do you mean? There's more, she whispered. I saw more than the murder. Malik leaned closer. I heard Diego Marin say something, she said. Something about a list. A list, she nodded. With names, children's names, schools, cities. They pick who they want. They make calls. Esteban takes care of it. Malik, blood ran cold. This goes deeper than we thought, he muttered. Yes, Esperanza whispered. And they know I remember everything. As the train crossed a bridge out of the city, Malik stared out the small crack in the metal wall. Had no idea where this journey would end. But one thing was now terrifyingly clear. Saving Esperanza hadn't just protected a little girl. It had opened a door to something darker. And someone, somewhere, was already planning to silence them for good. The girl who remembered everything and changed everything 2 weeks later. Another city. Another sunrise. But this time, no one was chasing them. Malik sipped from a paper cup of bitter black coffee, standing by the window of a small government-owned safe house in Santa Fe. Outside, Esperanza played with a pair of toy horses in the grass, her hair braided, her laughter small but real. The shadows in her eyes hadn't fully disappeared, but for the first time, she looked like a child again. Alina sat nearby, recovering slowly. Her ribs had been fractured from Esteban's last assault, but the doctors said she'd heal. She hadn't let Esperanza out of her sight since they reunited. Inside, the walls were lined with documents. Nico had arrived 2 days ago, bringing everything they'd collected: photos, lists, recordings. But most important of all, they now had Esperanza's testimony, recorded on video, clearly detailing what she saw in the warehouse. The cages, the murder, and the conversation between Esteban and Diego Marin. It was chilling. It was enough. The day they met with the federal task force, Malik held Esperanza's hand the entire time. They sat in a private room at the U.S. Attorney's office. A half-dozen agents listened carefully as Esperanza spoke. Her voice never shook. She described the murder of Miguel Cartagena with detail that made grown men shift uncomfortably in their seats. She recited the layout of the warehouse, the name of the ship, the cargo codes. She even remembered the license plate on a van that had taken two girls away. And then came the most damning part. When Esteban finished hurting the man, she said quietly, another man came into the room. He wore a suit. He gave Esteban a white envelope, and he said, "Make sure this never reaches Diego." "Are you sure he said that?" An agent asked. "Yes." And he also said, "The next batch comes from Missouri." The agents glanced at each other. In less than 24 hours, a nationwide operation was launched. By the end of the week, Esteban was arrested in a raid on a private villa outside Phoenix. He tried to shoot his way out, but surrendered when federal agents surrounded him. Diego Marin, the ambitious city councilman, was indicted. Dozens of emails and financial transfers were traced back to him thanks to the list Esperanza had uncovered. For illegal child trafficking hubs across 3 states were shut down. 36 children were rescued, all because a little girl remembered what no one else dared to speak. That night, Malik returned to the safe house, exhausted but smiling. Elena ran to him, tears in her eyes. They said, "It's over." "No," Malik said. "But it started. That's what matters." He walked outside and found Esperanza sitting under the stars, her arms wrapped around her knees. He sat beside her. "You did something brave today." She looked up at him. They said, "The bad men are gone. Most of them," he said. "But we'll keep fighting. Together." She hesitated. "Will I go back to Panama?" "That's up to your mom," Malik said softly. "But wherever you go, people will know your story. You helped save lives." "I'm just a girl," she whispered. "No," Malik said. "You're the girl who remembered. And because of you, they couldn't erase the truth." She looked at him for a long moment, then did something she hadn't done since the night. He found her in the alley. She hugged him tightly, like he wasn't just someone who helped her, but someone who had stayed. 3 months later, Malik returned to work at the restaurant. Things were different now. He was different. He cooked with more heart, talked to strangers with more patience, and every Friday, he reserved a small table near the back for Esperanza and Elena. They stayed in the States, under federal protection, given new identities, and a quiet place to live in the suburbs. Elena found work as a part-time seamstress. Esperanza started school for the first time in years. And every Friday night, they came to eat cornbread and shrimp gumbo, and smile at the man who had once just taken out the trash. One evening, after dinner, Esperanza asked if she could help in the kitchen. Malik grinned and handed her a tiny apron. "Welcome to the team, chef," he said. She laughed, not the frightened giggle from before, but a full, real laugh. The kind that means you've survived something meant to break you. Months turned to seasons, and though the world moved on, those who knew the truth never forgot. They told the story of a black chef who saw a lost girl in an alley and chose to care, who risked everything to protect a child he didn't know, who helped expose a trafficking ring that had hidden in plain sight for years. But Malik never wanted credit. He just wanted the girl to be okay. And one day, when Esperanza stood on a small stage at a local youth event, holding a piece of paper, with trembling hands, she introduced herself to a small crowd. "My name is Esperanza," she said. "It means hope. A long time ago, I thought hope was something you lost, but then someone found me, and now, I want to help other kids like me." Her eyes scanned the crowd and found Malik, standing near the back. She smiled. "I remembered everything," she said, "and that saved my life." The end.